Hey everyone, it's Barbara Ann. Welcome back to my channel, Straight Out of Context. Copyright disclaimer. Under the Copyright Act of 1976, I am within my full legal right to share these following clips via video and audio. The following creators allow reshare, redistribution, and download of their content, and as always, I credit in the description box down below. Fair use, public domain, TikTok third-party license, and TikTok Live automatic third-party license for the use of commentary, reaction, teaching, news reporting, research, comment, and criticism. I am legally within my basic human, civil, and constitutional right to share under the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. To share my expressions, views, thoughts, opinions, feelings, and critiques. The First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution guarantees my freedom of religion, freedom to exercise of, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, free assembly, and the right to petition the government and air my grievances. The First Amendment does not cover lies that amount to defamation, slander, libel, harassment, stalking, cyberstalking, bullying, cyberbullying, threats, or any other verbal crimes.
What's inside, who that is, what that is. I wanted to know, so this way I know what I'll be dealing with. And unfortunately, that part of me wanted to come out for a very long time, and the very first opportunity it got, I didn't waste any time in basically trying to make an example out of somebody, unfortunately. That dark shadow part of me that really is triggered by anger. It's triggered by anger. The sweet, innocent me that I usually wake up to every day is not there. It's a completely different person.
Okay, everybody, what I just showed you is what Gypsy Rose Blanchard 6 hours ago posted to TikTok and on her TikTok stories. Buckle up because it gets worse. She posts, "I've taken accountability and now I take back my life. When I accepted my sentence, I accepted the weight of my choices. I served my time. That was my accountability and I've carried it for years. I don't owe the past anything more." As for Nicholas Godejohn, yes, he is a deeply disturbed man, not as disturbed as Gypsy is, but he also knew the difference between right and wrong, regardless of my role of unintentional manipulation. This type of manipulation isn't rooted in malice. Well, what you're doing right now is rooted in malice and slander. It's often a reflection of past trauma, fear of abandonment, or lack of emotional tools. The key difference is intent. The person is not trying to deceive or control, but the behavior still affects others and requires self-awareness and growth to correct. Well, Nicholas is never going to get that chance because of you. If you're out, he should be out. And if he has to serve life, then your ass should be serving life. What you did was not second degree. What you did was first degree premeditated murder. Anybody over the age of 18 who knowingly causes the death of another. Nick was your accessory to your crime. He was solicited and manipulated to help you in your crime. Yes, he is guilty for his part in your crime. Nobody ever said that he wasn't. But the problem is, how can he ever grow when you stripped him of his supports, his family, his resources? Now you're trying to strip him of his reputation and his appeal process, which is his civil and constitutional right. The fact is that Nicholas Godejohn did this because for almost 3 years, he was love bombed, he was manipulated, he was gaslit into believing that they exhausted all other options. He thought Gypsy truly was abused. It doesn't matter what everybody else's perspective is. It matters what his perspective was based off of what Gypsy made him believe. So where's his voice, his truth, his opportunity for growth, for freedom, for his day to stand, his day to be able to have a future and a family? He doesn't get that at all. The mitigating circumstances don't matter because a bunch of country bumpkins got it wrong. Humans get it wrong. One district or prosecuting attorney can get it wrong. A panel of 12 jurors can get it wrong. We've seen it time and time and time again. And no, you don't have to cite O.J. Simpson or Casey Anthony or Karen Reed. Gypsy continues on with this. Nicholas made the decision to move forward with that night. That was a choice, and he is not exempt from the consequences of that choice, and neither are you. You attempted to take your mother's life twice before that, and you didn't get charged with attempted murder those 2 times, which you should have. His diagnosis of autism or Asperger's does not excuse what he did. Mental health is complex, but accountability matters, and no one is above the law. His fate was decided by a panel of judges, prosecutors, lawyers, and 12 jury members who reviewed the same evidence circulating online. What evidence circulating online? They should have been, excuse me? They should have been seeing the actual evidence. His efforts of appeals have all been unsuccessful, each court agreeing with the original conviction. Gypsy continues with, I will not carry his actions on my shoulders any longer. I've taken responsibility for mine. Yeah, your responsibility for your actions is the fact that you are the reason why he is where he is at. Yes, he made the decision to help you because he loved you, because you manipulated him into believing you exhausted all other options, that this was the only way you could be free. You made him fixated on you. You made him believe that you loved him and that this was the only way you two could be together. And if it wasn't Nicholas, you were going to get somebody else to kill your mother for you because you failed your 2 attempted murders of your mother a year and a half before you ever even met Nicholas in October of 2012. In the spring of 2011, and again on June 14th of 2011, when she shot her mom 10 times with a high-velocity BB gun. You will carry the fact that you had him commit those actions because of your actions for the rest of your life. That is never something you're going to be free from. She continues on with, this next chapter is one of healing, of growth, of reclaiming my life. Guess who can't reclaim their lives? I don't know, Dee Dee Blanchard, Nicholas Godejohn, Stephanie Goldhammer, his mother. This is freedom, and I'm moving forward with clarity, peace, and self-forgiveness. The justice system has decided this case is closed. This is justice for Dee Dee as well as myself, who the system failed all my life. Yeah, I call bullshit. You were a 24-year-old woman. You had every means, motive, and opportunity to get your ass right the fuck up out of that wheelchair and walk out of that door and never come back. It's all about intent, right? There was no manipulation that was malicious in nature to force you from the age of 18 to 24 for over 6 years to participate. And the deliberate choice to take your mother's life was just that. Malicious. Justice was served, and so was my time. Nope, you're going to spend the rest of your life serving time in the court of public opinion. Murder is a debt to society, and the people that form public opinion in the court of public opinion, are the people that make up society. My continued prayers go out to the Petrie family. I am deeply remorseful for the pain and heartbreak my actions have caused them. I recognize that nothing I can say can undo the trauma or bring Dee Dee back. But from the depths of my heart, I will continue to express my sincerest apologies to them now and always. Gypsy Blanchard. Well, what about the rest of her friends besides just her family? All of her neighbors, all of the people that she volunteered and helped, all of the countless hours that she spent with people, the friends that she made. What about all of those people? Those people deserve an apology. In fact, the whole of the internet and society and the people that make up all of society who have accounts on social media, those people are owed an apology for the egregious lies and manipulation and gaslighting of everybody to continue this perpetual victim narrative that just never truly happened. I'm not even going to waste my time reading all this. You can pause to read this, and you can also pause to read this. These emails were from an intentional Nick infiltration group from 2019. They were manipulating him to elicit him to say something that they can use against him. And from my understanding, there was somebody who was working with the Blanchard family at that time who was using this person to do exactly that. And this person, Dawn, has actually stated not even a year ago to please leave her out of all of this. Becca Scoops even showed messages where she said straight up, please leave me out of this. I want nothing to do with this. She even had a conversation with that person saying, no, you were trying to force me to elicit this kind of response out of Nick. That is malicious intent. That is manipulation to say, see, look, he's a bad guy because look at what we did to him. And it's no coincidence that it wasn't long after that Nicholas's mother ended up passing away. And I'm not going to go into the details of that either. Gypsy herself has done enough damage on the Kaylaalwaysblabbing podcast talking about it, twisting it as if she was completely harmless in the whole thing. But, hashtag my voce, hashtag my voch. And she also posts the National Domestic Violence Hotline as if she was domestically abused. If you haven't seen, I have an entire playlist that is all about interrogations. Stephanie Goldammer and her husband, Charles Goldammer, both were interrogated, and those tapes are available. Nick's stepdad says, yeah, Gypsy, the entire time they were here, they were effing like rabbits. I had to ask them to please quiet down or to stop having sex while I'm home. Maybe wait till after I go to work. He also says that she didn't cook, clean, or do anything. She only tried to make macaroni and cheese one time. And remember, that's in only a couple days. Her mother's life was taken between June 9th and June 10th of 2015, and they were arrested on June 15th of 2015. But domestic violence? Absolutely not. Nobody, including Nick's own half-brother, ever testified any witness testimony, any interrogation, nothing about any kind of domestic violence going on. And the messages and the text messages and the dating website messages, certainly there was no domestic violence going on between Nick and Gypsy. If anything, Gypsy was being abusive towards Nicholas. I mean, just look at what she's weaponizing TikTok right now to post and to do to him. It's egregious, and she's not taking accountability for having him do this for her. Because if it wasn't Nick who helped her kill her mother, she was going to find somebody else who would do it for her. That is who Gypsy is. And that's the entire problem with the justice system. We don't have faith in the justice system. We see humans make mistakes in the justice system all the time. We see district attorneys, prosecuting attorneys, judges, very corrupt judges. We see jurors being tainted. And we certainly see lawyers have conflict of interest, and yet nobody ever recuses themselves when they should. We see human justice fail time and time and time again because they get it wrong. Humans can get it wrong, and they do, more so than they ever get it right. Believe none of which thou hear, and only half of which thou see. because things are not always as they appear. And most of what you hear is hearsay. It's he said, she said. It's a lie. But Gypsy is going to spend every day of her entire life being responsible for her first-degree premeditated murder. And the fact that she solicited somebody else as an accessory to her crime, as a co-conspirator to her crime. And that person is wrongfully going to spend his natural life in prison for her crime. And instead of doing the right thing and advocating for his mental health and advocating for his right to be rehabilitated, for his right to be free, for his right to have a second chance, because the person who planned it is the most culpable, is the most guilty. It would not have happened if it wasn't for her. And if it wasn't Nick, it would be somebody else. Gypsy would have found somebody else to manipulate into killing her mother for her, because she attempted to kill her mom twice before and she failed. And now she wastes no time being off of parole doing all of this. And you know what's crazy about it is she didn't even have the balls to do it herself. You know, we would have a lot more respect for her if she did, and if she actually showed remorse and true accountability. But she's not. She's doing everything to deflect and negate any accountability by trying to say she spent all of these years being accountable. Doing your time is not accountability. It is statistically proven that over 12.8% of all incarcerated individuals in the United States of America are actually incarcerated for something that they are not guilty of. And there are people who are very guilty that get acquitted completely. Doing your time has absolutely nothing to do with guilt or innocence or accountability or not taking accountability. And she's over here showing messages from the Nick infiltration group from 2019, trying to convince you all that Nick is a monster. See, this is exactly what they wanted to do with those emails over 6 years ago. This is not only wild as fuck, this is disgusting. This is gross. This screams unhinged and screams that Nicholas Godejohn lives in her head rent-free. If that's what she's doing on her sister's birthday, posting all of this bullshit. Yes, Nick was guilty and is guilty for his part in helping you in your crime. But you, Gypsy, you are guilty for all of it. You're the one who orchestrated it. You're the one who planned it. You're the one who stole the knife and put it in his hands. And you are the one who thought all of it up. You hated your mother. You despised your mother. And that right there is the reason why you killed her. Then you literally try to get famous off of that murder, off of that crime. And that's all you are ever going to be known for. You don't sing, you don't dance, you're not an actress, you're not a writer, you're not an influencer. You're literally just a convicted criminal, a murderer. And this right here, ass kissery of your supporters and your friends, your associates, your family, and your fans is no different than the manipulation that you did of Nicholas Godejohn from 2012 to 2015. Against the odds, against the noise. Everybody said that she would fall, but instead she's rising. I'm about to show you what living my best life really looks like. And all you can do now is watch me. That's funny because you wasted the last year and a half of your life doing absolutely nothing tangible to help anybody other than yourself. Content creators clocked you left, right, up, and down that you didn't even know what lie you said on Wednesday and what lie you said on Saturday. But you know what they did do? They did open up all of the facts, the truth, the evidence, all of the forensic evidence, the circumstantial evidence, the Freedom of Information Act requests that have been given. They have opened up thousands and thousands and thousands of eyes. They have showed people with your own words against your own words and your own actions against your own actions how much of a liar and manipulator you truly are. And no one is shocked at all. Because you didn't prove you're a better person. You didn't prove that you're worthy of forgiveness or that you were worthy of a second chance. All you did is prove to everybody in the entire world of why you are not. That our mass incarceration system, that our legal system, that our justice system, that they get it wrong so often, that they fail. But not everybody does fail. And one thing is for sure, and you can bet your bottom dollar on it, is the truth will always prevail. And we don't need to hear it from the mouth of a pathological liar. We certainly aren't ever going to get the truth from a convicted murderer. She goes on to hashtag still standing, unstoppable, watch me rise. She actually tries to paint herself as strong and true and brave. That's what's funny about people that are truly strong and brave and true, is they know they are. They don't have to sit here and say it in a hashtag to convince others. That's how us real survivors and us real victims really know when somebody is lying, because we don't have to role play and play act. We also don't have to abuse, harm, or manipulate, lie, discard, and dispose of others, because we would never intentionally or unintentionally do that to anybody else. We would never want anybody else to feel or to go through what we did. And that is precisely how you know and I know the difference. We also don't use our abuse and our trauma as a means to turn around and capitalize off of it, to monetize it, to market, advertise, and promote it. Because good and decent humans who have suffered that kind of abuse and trauma would go above and beyond to make sure nobody else has to ever feel the way that they felt, to go through what they went through, or to live with what they had to live with. They also don't have to rewrite history and tell themselves a lie that never fundamentally and truly happened, to then try to advertise, promote, and market and monetize, capitalize off of that trauma and that abuse. Advocates do what they do selflessly, but Gypsy is not a victim. She's a convicted murderer who is making money off of her crime, selling that true crime narrative. And just like every other murderer, they're almost all liars. There's only been a handful who have come forward and actually told the truth without trying to point fingers at somebody else, instead of just proving that they're the better person, to prove that they're rehabilitated or reformed in any capacity. Gypsy can sit here and point fingers at Nicholas all day long until she is blue in the face. What it's not going to do is it's not going to prove that she's a better person. It's not going to prove that she's rehabilitated, that she's reformed, that she's deserving of forgiveness or a second chance, because she knows she's not. She knows what she did. And her karma and her justice is that she has to live inside of her own head every single day knowing that. But what she's not going to do is sit here and convince everybody else of this bullshit. What she's not going to do is sit here and slander and point fingers at everybody else. And what we're not going to do is actually take anything she says and give it any kind of real value or meaning. Because it doesn't. It's coming from a sociopath who is a psychological egoist who does nothing but lie. Anything and everything to paint herself as the innocent little girl, the innocent little victim that didn't have a choice. She did have a choice. And now she's the one that has to live with that for the rest of her life. And the last year and a half is a perfect example of the bullshit, the drama, the chaos, and the destruction that she has brought to so many people, including the so-called people she loves. And the funniest part of all of that is she's not even worth it, because she's a convicted murderer. She's now done what sociopaths do, and we've talked about this numerous times. She's not only doubled down, she has now tripled down. Instead of just taking a fraction of that last year and a half, she could have just put so much less work, less time, and less energy into just being a better person, being accountable, being responsible, asking for forgiveness, and telling the truth. But she's still utterly incapable, proving to us all once again that she will never change.
Gypsy Rose Blanchard's parole has officially come to an end, and she wasted no time at all to make a post on her TikTok account talking about Nicholas Godejohn. In the caption, she wrote, "I'm breaking my silence," and then hashtagged a bunch of other content creators who have been speaking out about her for the past year. But at the very bottom wrote, hashtag can kiss my ass, hashtag mic drop. Gypsy wrote, "I've taken accountability and now I take back my life. When I accepted my sentence, I accepted the weight of my choices. I served my time. That was my accountability and I've carried it for years. I don't owe the past anything more." As for Nicholas Godejohn, yes, he is a deeply disturbed man, but he also knew the difference between right and wrong. Regardless of my role of unintentional manipulation, this type of manipulation isn't rooted in malice. It's often a reflection of past trauma, fear of abandonment, or lack of emotional tools. The key difference is intent. The person is not trying to deceive or control, but the behavior still affects others and requires self-awareness and growth to correct. So Gypsy saying she unintentionally manipulated Nicholas Godejohn into unaliving her mother. And remember, Gypsy is the one who bought the knife, purchased the tickets for him to come there, paid for him to stay there, helped him clean up afterwards, and then ran away with him. The fact remains that had Gypsy and Nicholas not met, she likely would have gotten someone else to commit this crime. Nicholas made the decision to move forward with that night. That was a choice, and he is not exempt from the consequences of that choice. His diagnosis of autism Asperger's does not excuse what he did. Mental health is complex, but accountability matters, and no one is above the law. Fate was decided by a panel of judges, prosecutors, lawyers, and 12 jury members who reviewed the same evidence circulating online. Not all of the evidence was. His efforts of appeals have all been unsuccessful, each court agreeing with the original conviction. I will not carry his actions on my shoulders any longer. I've taken responsibility for mine. This next chapter is of healing, of growth, of reclaiming my life. This is freedom, and I'm moving forward with clarity, peace, and self-forgiveness. The justice system has decided this case is closed. This is justice for Dee Dee as well as myself, who the system failed all my life. And she goes on to post a clip of Nicholas Godejohn where he's talking about how his evil side took over, and I believe this happened on like his 16th birthday, but that's what he's talking about. Then she wrote, "Justice was served and so was my time. My continued prayers go out to the Petrie family. Deeply remorseful for the pain and heartbreak my actions have caused them. I recognize that nothing I say can undo the trauma or bring Dee Dee back. But from the depths of my heart, I will continue to express my sincerest apologies to them now and always, Gypsy Blanchard." She goes on to post this about Nicholas having a disturbing pattern of targeting vulnerable women with past trauma and pulling them into his twisted fantasy world. To pause to read this, go ahead, but then she shares email exchanges between Nicholas Godejohn and another woman he was dating while he was in prison. I will probably go over these in more depth over on my YT channel, so go subscribe if you want to see that. And she followed it up with this. Second paragraph, she says, "And to the ones who said I'd fail, who said she's just going to go back to prison, or swore I wouldn't make it past day one, thank you, because you lit a fire in me. You gave me the drive to prove you wrong, and guess what I did? Against the odds, against the noise, I stood strong. I stayed true. I kept pushing forward, and now I'm just getting started. You said I'd fall, but instead I'm rising. I'm about to show you what living my best life really looks like, and all you can do now is watch me." Gypsy Rose Blanchard probably had the world's most lenient PO. Was able to travel and go on vacations and do all these podcasts and media interviews. She did multiple things while on parole that she wasn't supposed to do, but yet those just slid under the radar. So in my opinion, if there were something that Gypsy Rose Blanchard would do that would get her sent back to prison, it would probably be when she got off of parole.
Gypsy Rose decided to make a statement today. We were all waiting for it. We were all waiting for the slander of this one and that one and this one and that one, and here it is. She didn't disappoint, and don't make fun of my neck fan. I do not care. I'm perimenopausal. This is what it is, and this is on low right now, y'all. I have to have this. I have to have this when I'm a sitting duck out here. Otherwise, the heat flashes are no joke. Here is Gypsy's statement. Let me know what you think in the comments. "I've taken accountability, and now I take back my life. When I accepted my sentence, I accepted the weight of my choices. I served my time. That was my accountability, and I've carried it for years. I don't owe the past anything more. As for Nicholas Godejohn, yes, he is a deeply disturbed man, but he also knew the difference between right and wrong. Regardless of my role of unintentional manipulation, then she has a really big long in parentheses, okay? This type of manipulation isn't rooted in malice. It's often a reflection of past trauma, fear of abandonment, or lack of emotional tools. The key difference is intent. The person is not trying to deceive or control, but the behavior still affects others and requires self-awareness and growth to correct." The next page. Nicholas made the decision to move forward with that night. That was a choice, and he is not exempt from the consequences of that choice. His diagnosis of autism Asperger's does not excuse what he did. Mental health is complex, but accountability matters, and no one is above the law. His fate was decided by a panel of judges, prosecutors, lawyers, and 12 jury members who received the same evidence circulating online. His efforts of appeals have all been unsuccessful, each court arguing with the original conviction. I will not carry his actions on my shoulders any longer. I've taken responsibility for mine. This next chapter is one of healing, of growth, of reclaiming my life. This is freedom, and I'm moving forward with clarity and peace and self-forgiveness. The justice system has decided. The case is closed. This is justice for Dee Dee, as well as myself, who the system failed all my life. And then she's trying to down Nick. She's trying to down Nick and put him down at the end of this and share messages between him and ex-girlfriends, okay? It's really fucking disgusting. It's really disgusting. Says about Nicholas, here's what else she had to say. Nicholas Godejohn has a disturbing pattern targeting vulnerable women.
I hate Gypsy Rose Blanchard, and I've never hated anybody in my entire life. And I've always been a strong believer that you will never hate anybody unless that person possesses something in them that you wish you had for yourself. But not in this case. Now I don't know if I believe that anymore because I fucking hate this bitch. Look at her. She's rich. She just went and got a new car. She got her teeth like whitened or done or something. She's got all this money, and it's all because she killed her fucking mother. Oh, but her mom was abusing her. Her mom had a fucking mental illness. Would you take somebody with schizophrenia, depression, or anxiety and kill them and say, oh, that's okay? Aren't we supposed to treat people with mental illness, not murder them? I try so hard to let sleeping dogs lie, but I just keep seeing this bitch pop up on my For You page, and I'm like, she just gets worse and worse to look at. I can't fucking stand it. She is not some innocent baby-voiced abuse victim. Sure, she suffered abuse at the hands of somebody who is suffering greatly from a mental illness.
2 women, 2 dysfunctional love stories, 2 bodies. Pamela Smart didn't pull the trigger, just handed a love-struck teen the keys. And the motive? She didn't want to lose her lifestyle. Gypsy Rose didn't hold the knife, just told her boyfriend the only way they could be together was murder. And she sure didn't mind keeping her mom's money afterwards. And here's the part they both leave out. They used sex, love, and manipulation to make it happen. And then, after the blood dried, both played victim. Both cashed in. Both rewrote the script. Confession? Absolutely delusional. Funny how they both said, I didn't kill anybody, but leaves out the part where they made sure someone else did. And if you think that's harsh, go read the receipts. And as always, this is commentary, not a courtroom. Allegedly, you know the drill.
Y'all, we should try to make a game of this. Like, who is she today? Because if we find out who she is, then maybe we can win a prize. And the prize could be that maybe she ends up in an alleged psych ward where she need to be. Because once parole hit, like the idea of parole is over, when I tell you the multitude of personalities that's going to fly through us, we ain't going to be able to keep up. We're going to be needing to be in the alleged psych ward. It's not going to be good. And unfortunately, she's going to hurt a lot of people in the process. But the only people you can blame are the people who didn't hold the multiple personalities accountable. I can't.
So Gypsy Rose Blows now made a new post on her TikTok claiming that she has taken accountability and paid for what she has done. And then she goes on to villainize Nick even further. She is now claiming that he was domestically violent with her. And that's why what happened. She's posting messages from Nick, this long fake I don't know, apology, accountability, I don't know what it is. Gypsy, this is not going to work. Nick was not the abuser. You groomed him for 2 years. You manipulated him into unaliving your mother. He would not have known your mother, been around your mother, had those feelings towards your mother if you hadn't coached him into doing that. You used him as a tool. He was your weapon. You didn't use a pew-pew. You didn't use this jabby jab on your own. You used Nick as a vessel. He was your schmurder weapon. Your bullshit is gonna fucking stop. The lies are gonna fucking stop. That man did not abuse you. If anything, you mentally abused him and manipulated him into unaliving your mother. You need to be in prison. Yes, he does too, but you didn't serve your time. You got off. There was corruption, clearly. We all see you for what you are, a no-good, manipulative schmurderer. That will never change.
Gypsy Rose, this down here shows you ain't taking responsibility. So all this up here doesn't make a shit. I'm pretty sure this whole part right here came from ChatGPT. That you looked up an excuse about why someone lies and manipulates people without knowing. ChatGPT was like, oh, because of trauma. And you were like, fuck yeah, I needed that excuse anyway. The only time you accepted responsibility was on the stand when you were forced. Then you got out and immediately was like, I don't identify as a murderer. I didn't do the actual unaliving. That's what you said. But right there, you were trying to push as much responsibility away from you onto Nick the minute you got out. You've tried to make Nick Godejohn look like this terrible person, just this awful guy. But you were talking the same shit to Nick that Nick was talking to you, and you did it willingly too, girl. You say you accepted the weight of your choices, yet you have been out doing nothing but dragging your fucking mama and dragging Nick. Serving your time is great. Getting out and lying about everything that went on is a negative. We're not accepting that, ma'am. That was my accountability for years. So the only accountability you get was the 10 years you were in prison. And what didn't you just say like a month or so ago? You've never had to be held accountable. Your mom did everything for you. But now you want to say, oh, my accountability was when I was in prison. I don't need accountability in the free world. And this right here is nothing but a fucking excuse. This type of manipulation isn't rooted in malice. It's often a reflection of past trauma, fear of abandonment, or lack of emotional tools. The key difference is intent. You had every fucking intent, you lying little, I ain't gonna say it, I'm trying to do better. You knew you were manipulating him. You lied to him for a year and told him you were sick when you knew you weren't. You told him you needed saving and had the audacity to get on fucking Dr. Phil and be like, I wish he would have gotten me help. I wish he would have been more responsible. Nick and you had the same resources to get you help. And you had no problem going up to a man's hospital room, proving your age for some wee-wee, but you would not do it to get you fucking help. Gypsy Rose, this whole post did the reverse of what you think it did, girl. This whole second paragraph, just another fucking excuse and putting your responsibilities onto something else like trauma. Grow up, girl. You're in your 30s. You claim you did your time. Accept what you fucking did. You committed murder. You manipulated that man on purpose. Who committed murder? Stop lying about it, girl.
Nope. Don't take accountability. Do not take accountability for your estranged adult child's perception of whatever it is that they are pissed at you for. You can acknowledge their perception, and you can even express your sorrow for their perception. But don't take accountability, because the minute that you do, you will never have any space in that relationship for honesty. At least honesty from your side.
Was I really being disrespectful, or did I just clock you? Who said that?
As someone who has personally survived child abuse without resorting to violence, I find it deeply unsettling that individuals like Gypsy Rose Blanchard, who have been convicted of murder or convincing others to commit such heinous acts, have opportunities to monetize their celebrity status on the internet. This trend not only glorifies and justifies their past actions, but also sets a dangerous precedent for society. The internet and social media platforms should be used as tools for positivity, education, and connection, not a stage for idolizing those who have taken lives. When society allows convicted murderers to profit from their notoriety, it undermines the concept of justice and sends a harmful message to countless victims and survivors of crime. According to the Bureau of Justice Statistics, nearly 2.3 million people are incarcerated in U.S. prisons and jails. And why not all are violent offenders, those who have committed the gravest of crimes, should not be given a platform to further exploit their stories for financial gain. This is particularly offensive to people who have suffered at the hands of violence and never received the justice they deserved. Allowing these individuals to capitalize on their crime not only re-victimizes survivors and victims' families, but also impacts the moral fabric of our country. It's time to draw a line and say we do not condone the glorification of criminals, and we should not tolerate turning murderers into celebrities. We call upon social media platforms such as YouTube, X, formerly known as Twitter, TikTok, and any other platform where you can monetize. We also call upon legislators and society as a whole to enact policies that prevent convicted murderers from turning their infamy into income. Let's prioritize the dignity and voices of victims over sensationalism and entertainment. If you agree with anything I just said, then I strongly encourage you to go sign my petition on change.org, and let's have people like Gypsy Rose removed from the internet before she literally convinces a bunch of kids to go kill their parents, lie about abuse, because they can become famous and never have to work a 9-to-5 job. That is what she was just bragging about on the internet, not having to work a 9-to-5 job because she's a social media personality. She thinks she's a celebrity. We cannot let that stand, and nobody should be able to live so comfortably simply because they ended not one, but 2 lives.
3, when you count the slander and libel of Nicholas Godejohn and the harming of his appellate process, the perjury at his trial, the violation to his rights, his basic human rights, civil and constitutional, the punitive damages, the mental, physical, and emotional distress that it caused his mother, who is the 3rd life taken in all of this. And she's over here telling People magazine that she's going to be using IVF for baby number 2. Because God forbid, the worst thing she can pass on to one of her children is her genetic chromosome disorder, which is smart to do. But why? Because the way you look, you don't want your baby to look like you. The worst thing is that you can have a child grow up to be exactly like you. That is the dangerous and scary part. One that lies, manipulates, and uses people. And not only that, she wants to have a boy. She wants to have 1 girl, 1 boy. She wants the fairy tale, picture perfect mom, dad, son, and daughter. This is going to be fun to watch in the next 15 years because watch Aurora end up coming to social media behind her back. Watch her son end up becoming a lazy gamer. Gypsy is about to experience what real motherhood is like because your children always surprise you. They never end up exactly how you envision them ending up. Gypsy is a perfect example of that because her mother never anticipated her 24-year-old daughter stabbing her in the back 17 times and nearly taking her head off. But I think one of her biggest karmas is yet to come. And she is right about one thing. Everybody's going to be here to watch it.
Okay, I've said it before and I'm saying it again. I really think Gypsy Rose is pregnant and I think she's having a boy. and I'm not the only one picking up on this. In her vacuum video where she's singing into the handle, why has nobody talked about the blue balloons on the bottom? And the song choice, Taylor Swift. Are you ready for it? Taylor Swift is her favorite artist, and she lives for Easter eggs and coded hints. And a couple months ago, a creator said Gypsy's daughter and son. That's not a slip people make casually. So here's what I'm wondering. Is she soft launching her pregnancy with a boy with the blue balloons and the Taylor Swift lyrics, which, by the way, mentioned an unaliver and a jailer? Okay. Is it a boy, or is it another GRB style mind game? Nothing is ever straightforward with GRB, but everything is done on purpose. There's always a meaning calculated behind these posts. We already know nothing is ever straightforward with GRB, so I wouldn't be surprised if there's an engagement, probably July 9th, when she announced her pregnancy with Aurora, followed by a pregnancy announcement. Remember, she also told us she is on 2 types of birth control. 2 types. So there's no way she could possibly be pregnant. She's brought it up lately that she is not, and asked, why does everybody think that? And we know with GRB, things tend to be the opposite of what she says. She also said that she was not going to chance the 1Q21.1 microdeletion, possibly passing it on. She said she would do in vitro next time. And we know the storyline must continue. What are your thoughts on GRB possibly being a mother ×2? Is Gypsy Rose pregnant again? I'm not even joking. So I was looking at her TikTok post to follow her YT channel, and look at this. What's funny is there was a fake one of these going around that people were tagging me in. Here's a fake one. Then she posts this. No, she's obsessed with like Taylor Swift and Easter eggs. And if you don't know, Easter eggs are like hidden, I don't know, they're like hidden things and things. I don't know. So is GRB pregnant like I thought she was, or she would be soon? Or is this because Ryan's going live tomorrow to supposedly spill tea on everything that's been going on? All the crazy ass. What do you guys think?
Gypsy Rose is off parole and wants to have another baby. Well, she appeared on the Tori Spelling podcast, and she announced to everyone that she wants to have another baby, but she's going to do it through IVF this time because A, she wants to have a boy, and most importantly, she doesn't want her baby to have the microdeletion chromosome disorder that she has, 1Q21.1. Now, this is a chromosomal change in which all small pieces of the chromosome is deleted in each cell. The change can increase at the risk of delayed development, intellectual disability, physical abnormalities, and neurological and psychiatric problems. Gypsy Rose has made it thus far, and we've all seen her come out and do everything she said that she was absolutely going to do once she got out of prison. I'm mistaken. She did everything exactly opposite of what she was going to do. She said that she was going to do prison reform stuff, and that she was going to help people get into mental health care and all of these things and do all these fantastic things. But she's done a reality show, and people on this app and many other places have decided to make her one of the most infamous people there are. And sadly, Nick Godejohn will still remain in prison for the rest of his life for all of the crime and stuff. But yeah, this is what she's up to. Off parole and gonna have a baby.
And Gypsy is not the only one that wasted no time straight off of parole on her sister's birthday, who she loves so very much, getting completely buck wild, unhinged, and trying to gaslight all of the internet. It said that some of her friends had quite a field day today, threatening other content creators again. But I highly suggest you guys check out Lottie or Haiti Joyless over on TikTok if you want to see all of that. You can also check out Apple Charlotte or Hello Starlight. They are the ones that usually catch all of those live panels with all of that chicken clucking and craziness that you can never even make sense of. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your time and for being here with me. And if you liked my video, please do not forget to like and to share. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications.